All right, we've got some fantastic finals in the desert. Indian Wells finals are set. We've got Carlitos Alcaraz and Daniil Medvedev on the men, and we got Rybakina versus Sabalenka, an Australian Open final rematch with the women. Carlos can get back to number one with the win here. So we've got just, four of the absolute, you could say the four top players in both of these draws competing here in the final. And it's a big deal. So we're going to get into it. Here's the slice on the Indian Wells finals. Thanks for being back here, people. Welcome back to the slice, to the show. Friends of the show, appreciate you. And I appreciate you subscribing and completing the gentleman's agreement. My friends at My First Million, great podcast, introduced me to the concept of the gentleman's agreement. And that is, if you watch our show, The Slice, we work for you. All you have to do to keep this going is to subscribe below. And that's just the deal. We can't check on you, but we know that because you are integral, you will do it. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a friend of the show. And we look forward to these finals. The first one, Daniil Medvedev versus Carlitos Alcaraz. Carlitos Alcaraz, I just realized, is a great way to say his last name because the wrath of Alcaraz is real. He's had a great run to the final, beating great players. Just put another leg in the rivalry with Jannik Sinner in a great match there. We're going to get into some of the stats from that match that show just how destructive he is on these a little bit slower, high bouncing, grittier surfaces, hard or clay. And we're just going to look at their routes to the final for sure. But coming into this tournament, you had Daniil Medvedev, 3 titles in a row, hottest player in the tour. And then you had Carlos Alcaraz coming into the season, his third event that he's played, and it's his third final of 2023. So, Djokovic is obviously not here, which is ridiculous and which is sad. So he's obviously right at the top. He's the number one player in the world. If he was here, he would definitely be making it deep. So let's just say Djokovic is the top number one player in the world. We've got the other 2 guys who are right there right now, the top 3 players in the world. 2 of them are in the Indian Wells final. So that's big. Carlos Alcaraz takes out Jannik Sinner. Now, let me just pull up some of the numbers from this match, which are pretty impressive if you ask me. So Alcaraz beat Sinner in straight sets. Sinner had 15 winners, 15 unforced errors. Even. Carlos, though, had 28 winners, 14 unforced errors. So literally twice as many winners to unforced errors. And what do you do about that? It's just unbelievable. So Carlos showing the firepower. He's showing the firepower in these slower courts, even against a guy like Sinner, who has in previous matches been able to hurt Carlos, hurt him badly on clay. So yeah, that's just big time. That's a statement win, in my opinion, from Alcaraz. He also takes out, if we're just going to pull it up here. Now, earlier in the tournament, he's had a tough run here. He's beaten Kokkinakis 6-3, 6-3. Greek Sport 7-6, 6-3. Takes out Draper, who was injured. Then he beats Felix Auger-Aliassime, our guy, in 3 sets. That was an insane match. He takes out Felix 6-4, 6-4. I was looking at the other one where Felix beat Tommy. That was an insane match. 6-4, 6-4. Close match against Felix, but just a little bit too much from Carlos. And then he beats Jannik Sinner to get to the final. So tough route to the final for Alcaraz, but just showing that he's winning the matches he is supposed to be winning as the number 1 seed. So he can get back to number 1 in the world here with a win, which is pretty crazy. So obviously not the way we'd like to see that happen. He was number 1 at the beginning of the year, and then he wasn't able to play in the Australian Open because of an injury. Djokovic wins it, takes back number 1, and then now Djokovic isn't able to defend his number 1 because he's not allowed in the U.S. because of some ridiculous, in my opinion, rules going on. So Alcaraz has a good chance to take it back now against Daniil Medvedev, who has hated the surface here in Indian Wells the entire week. Talks about how slow it is, how he's like, again, when he beats Zverev, he's like trolling the umpire trolling the court. He's saying, look at how slow this is. It's like we're playing in mud here. But he beats TFO in the semifinals to make the finals. And he looked extremely, extremely impressive. Scary defense from Daniil Medvedev. The shot making that he was coming up with as Francis charged the net, trying to take a page of the Djokovic book, serving and volleying a lot to Medvedev's super deep return position. Medvedev was just forced to come up with these incredible passing shots, incredible counter punching from back behind the baseline. And it was like the best I've ever seen him do it. It was absolutely incredible. I've heard that Daniil Medvedev has changed up his string because he was complaining about the Dunlop balls again in Dubai, if I remember, and he's changed up his string to get a bit more power through slower courts and through heavier balls. So that looks like it's helped him, obviously. 3 titles in a row in the final now in Indy Wells, trying to get a 4th to beat Alcaraz. So this is just a match of, Medvedev's the hottest player coming in. Alcaraz had a very good chance since before the tournament on the surface. If he was healthy, which he clearly is. So it's going to be a great final. They've only played once before. It was Wimbledon 2021, and Medvedev was kind of on a different level at that point and beat Alcaraz fairly simply, but this is obviously a different game. It's going to be a great contrast of styles. It's going to be the ultra aggressive Alcaraz hitting big, playing the all-court game, and Medvedev, we're going to see what he does. It's going to be interesting to see what he tries to do through a slower court against a guy like Alcaraz, who is just the ultimate athlete, the ultimate firepower right now on the ATP Tour, and who's playing well. So we'll see what happens when Carlos is serving, not the biggest serve, and Medvedev is standing back. Will he stay standing back? Sorry, it's late here. Or will he come forward or will he return earlier in the court and try and take swings off of those returns? We'll see. But it's going to be interesting. I don't really know. I don't really have game plans for either of these guys going into it, but it's going to be interesting to react to how they play and how they match up. Let's take a look at how Medvedev got here. Old Medi, if we go to the bottom here, love the way this is laid out. Not actually. Medvedev beats Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in the quarterfinals. He beats Zverev in the 4th round, Ivashka, Nakashima, and then TFO in the semifinals. So I wouldn't say as tough of a route as Alcaraz, but still expected to come through in all those matches. So yeah, we got a great final. Absolutely juicy final. Medvedev versus Alcaraz. And in the women's, we have Rybakina, Elena Rybakina versus Arina Sabalenka, Australian Open final rematch. And I was just looking this up on the head-to-head, as you can see here. It's not showing it. Anyways, the last 3 matches that Sabalenka and Rybakina have played they've all gone to 3 sets, and all 9 of the sets have either been 6-3 or 6-4. So I don't know what's going on here, but that's some pretty crazy, consistently close sets, close matches, but they've all gone Sabalenka's way. 5 or 4, all 4 of the matches Sabalenka's way in their career head-to-head. You could say the 2 best WTA players in the world right now. Rybakina beats Swiatek again in straight sets. What is going on there is Rybakina, who's still 10th in the world ranked, which is preposterous, beats Swiatek again in 2023. You would have to think that she's going to move up quite high if she was able to win this. If she isn't, I'm just going to look at the live rankings for the WTA. Rybakina is already up to 8th with a finals run. Her max would be 3.720, which would put her into 7th. So really not that high. Man, that is just savage that her Wimbledon points have not counted. She would be, I guess she would probably at the end of this be 3rd in the world. So yeah, anyways, Rybakina still playing with a huge chip on her shoulder, as she should, in my opinion. Love her game. She's super hard to beat right now. And Sabalenka is a baller. She's super confident, major champion. Never gonna. Both of these women are major champions, and that's awesome. So we've got an amazing final in the women's as well, just as good as the men's, and I can't wait for both of them tomorrow. So that's Indian Wells in a quick wrap. Again, we're boycotting Indian Wells as a slice. No media access for real fan channels like us, which you guys follow and which you guys support. So thank you for that. These finals are juicy. No denying that. I can't wait to watch them tomorrow. What's your predictions? If we're going to do predictions here, I feel Alcaraz. I'm going with Alcaraz based on the surface, based on the lack of complaints on the surface compared to Daniil Medvedev, which is hilarious. But I'm taking Alcaraz in that one, and I'm liking Rybakina to get her first win over Sabalenka. More power, bigger game, I think a little bit, and I just think it's their time. But you never know because Sabalenka is feeling confident, as she said. So, anyways, those are my predictions, and that's the preview of the finals. Indian Wells. Thanks for subscribing. We will see you next time here on The Slice.